Hi, my name is Keri Barnum, and I am here for Free Advice Friday, the hour every Friday where we talk about book marketing, publishing, we cheer each other on, and I am excited to be here today. We have quite a few questions coming in right online at newshelves.com/FAF, our live Zoom. You're welcome to join at any time, and I've got emailed questions because you can email in advance, even if you can't make it. That email is info@newshelves.com. And again, we try to hold on to those and answer those on Fridays. If you can't make our live webinar, don't worry about it. We do post the replay on YouTube every Monday, so you can catch it there at youtube.com/newshelvesbooks. So we try to jump all in there. We're going to get started. So we've got quite a few questions coming in the Q&A box, and I will do my absolute best. All right, Amazon has paused my book ads and doesn't answer when I ask them why. Any ideas of what to do? Yes, so if your book ads are paused, I would be looking, number one, they do usually email you. So search your email for Amazon ads to see if anything's in there, but most likely reasons for Amazon ads being suspended or paused is either they can't make money on your book because your book is selling for too low, even sometimes when Amazon runs their own discount, or it's been suspended for quality purposes or for content purposes. So you cannot technically run ads for erotica. So if your book has anything erotic in it, if it's got curse words on the cover, if it's got quality issues because you have a broken page link or something like that, it can get hit for that. And I do know that they have recently been doing quality scans on their ebooks because I've seen a couple of them. Really easy, simple fixes, but there are things that Amazon didn't like, said it ruined the reader experience. So check on that. It did also for me when I saw those quality issues, it showed up on the KDP dashboard, but it's like this little note with a hyperlink at the top of the page. So make sure you're checking on that if you do have any, if you have anything suspended or any notes like that. And it does actually put a like a warning on your sales page as well. Let's see. That is awesome. How is a podcast different from a video? That's a good question. With all of our technology, how does it differ? Well, when you record a podcast is traditionally audio only. Now, sometimes when you're recording that podcast, it can be in person, it can be on video, or it can be just audio. However, when it is actually released, when it is published, it's usually just the audio. Let's say on iTunes or on Spotify, you're not watching anything, it's just audio. Now, because of the world we live in and the technology we have, it's not unusual for a podcast to go live in video and actually be played on YouTube or on a website, in addition to having that audio only option. We just kind of expand from there. So technically, if I was recording this Free Advice Friday and putting it up on Spotify and everywhere else, which we used to do, that would be a podcast, even though I'm doing a video. So it's produced audio, and that's where the focus is, and that's where people consume it at, is through the audio. Technically, if you are doing something where you're sitting here on camera and talking about it and posting it to like a vlog, it's a video blog. So instead of a blog where you type it, it's a vlog. There's a lot of wordplay on it, but that's the big difference, is that a video can be used for podcasts, but a traditional podcast, when consumed, is audio only. Hopefully I did that one justice. And yes, anyone looking for Julia's podcast, it's Authors Over 50. If you Google it, you'll find it. And if you go to juliadaily.com, you will also see it. It's about midway down the page, and she is accepting new guests, so you can ask there. All right. Yes, and Cheryl, if you would, there are requests for you to share information for your live. So if you want to drop the link for your live today, Cheryl, on LinkedIn, feel free to do that in the chat so we can support you. All right. My question today is about ISBN numbers and copyright, and if it is something I need to be working on now before my revised edition is not yet published, or do I need to wait until my book is published again before I can obtain both of these? So your ISBN you should be getting from your each country has one specific place that you're supposed to get your ISBN from. In the US, that is Bowker. You go to myidentifiers.com and you buy your ISBN there. And you can do that at any time. When you have a title, when you're ready, you assign the ISBN to the specific book. But like I have, we have bulk ISBNs. So I have like 1,000 ISBNs and they're not used yet. They never expire. They just sit there. So you can do that at any time. If you live in Canada, you actually can get them from your government and they give them to you for free. So if you're UK, that is also Bowker, but a different like interface of Bowker. So you've got different options there. As far as copyright, you can copyright your book and your work as soon as you were done writing it. Now, technically, as soon as you put that copyright symbol with your name and the year, it is technically legally in the US copyrighted. However, it's a smart idea to register with the US Copyright Office, in which case you there's a form, you send it in, I think it's $40, and it can take about a year to actually turn around and get that certificate, but then you've got that certificate should you ever need it. So that is an option there. And good. I'm glad you and Rob got connected for Books to Big Screen. That's awesome. Yeah. So you can obtain those early, copyright as soon as your book is actually complete, and your ISBN buy it anytime. They don't go bad. I highly recommend getting the pack of 10 ISBNs because you need an ISBN for every format of your book. So if you've got an ebook, a paperback, and an audiobook, you will need 3 ISBNs. And if you have multiple books or multiple formats, you will need more than one ISBN. And if you you can purchase them one at a time, but if you have more than 2 formats or 2 books, it like saves you money to buy the pack. All right. I remember the advertising method I need to do. It's Canva. Is that what is above author's book on Amazon down by the reviews? You are thinking about A+ content, I believe, Kim. A+ content is the formatted pictures that you can see on a Amazon sales page. I'll see if I can pull it up and share it. Let me see. Bum, bum, bum. Give me a second here. I will find you some A+ content and I will share it with you. Maybe. Of course, like the one book I go on to doesn't have A+ content. I am winning. It's a winning day. It's a winning week. It's going to be an awesome weekend. Let me try this one. I should have just gone to a book I knew had it, but I was trying to just go at random here. Okay, this is actually A+ content. Not what I was looking for, but it does work. All right, so A+ content here. All right. I will look for that one too. All right, so this is A+ content here on this very popular book. Down below, down, where it says from the publisher, this is A+ content. It's above your editorial reviews. You can do images, you can do reviews, that kind of thing. Tara is saying life after lockdown. Life after lockdown also has A+ content. So let's take a look-see. There we go. There's some A+ content too. So you can see it's a spot where you can really do standout graphics that still have information about your book. You can do reviews, you can make it pretty. It's very common with fiction books to where you kind of take an image and it's one image that you split across like 3 different blocks. So it's kind of got like a cool effect. And if you would like to set your own A+ content up, if you go to youtube.com/newshelvesbooks, we have A+ content video where I show you how to do that. And I also give you templates on Canva to do that. So you can do that yourself. Let me drop that in our chat. Anyone else, just go to youtube.com, search A+ content, and you can find it. But that's the YouTube video. It does tell you where to get the templates and all that other good stuff. All right. And I think that probably is what you're thinking, Kim. All right. So I got a PCIP. What do I do with it now? Once you get your PCIP, the PCIP, which is the publisher's catalog in publication block. Yay, I did it. I acronymed. That goes on your copyright page. So the PCIP block is a value added feature for librarians that will register your book in the OCLC library cataloging system. Wow, that's a tongue twister. And so that is a feature where librarians really like it because they don't have to catalog your book. They can just look it up and check a box, put it into their system, makes their life easier, which means they are more likely to stock your book and love you for it. So if you go and get a PCIP block, which I highly recommend for your books, it then is placed on your copyright page, kind of towards the bottom, the exact block as is. You cannot reformat it. You can change the text font and you can change the text size to match your book, but you cannot change anything else. The actual spacing and everything is really meant to be exactly as it is so that it can be cataloged for librarians. So drop it right on in there. All right. Kim, if you're looking for more information on copyright, we talked about that, I believe, last week on Free Advice Friday, so you can catch the replay there. And we do have on our website, I try to do Free Advice Friday recaps with my amazing helper, Catherine, who helps me get that together. She's awesome. And so if you go to newshelves.com, you go to the blog, there's a little search bar and you can just type in copyright and it will pull up everything we've ever talked about on the blog. And that's super helpful as well because it's in written form. Or you can go watch last week's Free Advice Friday, which is up on YouTube. Yes, if you have a PCIP block and you are using a book designer or interior designer, you just give it to your formatter. I happen to know that Felice is her book designer, so you put it right there in the copyright. Oh, thank you, Cheryl. We really try to keep everything, lots of information on the New Shelves website. Keep it hopping. Keeps me hopping. All right, I am reformatting and changing some content of my book. With a cover change, I will be putting a new ISBN in the book and log it into Bowker. I have a copyright on this book. Should I reapply for the copyright for revamped book? Excuse me. If you are doing brand new content, Teresa, you may want to re-up that copyright. But if you're just changing the cover and some cosmetics, you don't really need to. Now, what you can do is do the copyright symbol, the original copyright date, do a comma, and then do the new date of when you're going to publish the most updated version. You may do that just kind of as a notification that it's been updated and copyrighted. All right. What kind of lighting and microphone do you use for your videos? The quality is great. I would totally show you my office room, but it's a mess right now. I've got like Nerf guns sitting over here and all the things. So I actually have in my office area, I work in a Florida room, like a 3 Seasons room. So I have windows there, there. And that is why the lighting is good in here. But if I do not have this, I highly recommend a ring light, something that you can really get some nice light on your face. You do have to play with it depending on your shadows, because no one wants like half of your face like completely invisible. You don't want to look like you're in witness protection where like you're all backlit. So you do have to play with it a little bit. As far as microphones, we also went into detail on that last week on Free Advice Friday, and I actually showed you what I use in my options. It's the first thing I think we talked about last week. So if you go to YouTube and you check out last week's Free Advice Friday, it's right there. And I show you on Amazon exactly what it is. There are options from like $40 to $100 for microphones. Yes, unless you have, if you have glasses, you have to be careful with ring lights. You do definitely have to play with that a little bit. I had LASIK eye surgery, oh gosh, like 11 years ago. It was the best thing I ever did because I couldn't see the E, you know, the E on the big chart. I could not see that. I go in for my surgery and they're like, okay, can tell us what you can read. And I was like, I know there's an E at the bottom because I've seen this chart so many times. I know there's an E at the bottom, but I can't see it. And so the doctor goes, all right, I'm going to hold up some fingers. Mind you, he's by the chart. He holds up some fingers like this, and he keeps walking closer to me. And he goes, tell me when you can see how many fingers I have up. And he's like right in front of my face. And I was like, oh, I think I see 3. He's like, okay, let's go fix your eyes. And we did. And I woke up with 20/20 vision, probably not anymore 10 years later, but it was one of the best decisions I've ever done. All right. I've been told that I need to send my self-published book to the Library of Congress, but I'm not sure how to yet. There is an entire Library of Congress, PCIP, copyright, all of those are actually pretty extensive. So Library of Congress, you can send in, but technically self-published authors who have less than 10 published titles by 3 different authors under the same imprint name do not technically qualify for Library of Congress control numbers. Now you can still send it into the Library of Congress, but you actually get a PCN, which is a pre-control number. It's not quite the same thing, but you can still do it. And that is why, because we don't qualify for that, that is one of the reasons why I so highly recommend a PCIP block, because it catalogs it like they do in the Library of Congress. So that is why, and again, that's just like the surface, but I have this really in-depth blog on the New Shelf's website. I am going to link that in here, because that could be an hour all on its own. I keep saying I need to contact Pat from the Donahue group and see if I could beg her to come talk to us about PCIPs and cataloging and all that kind of stuff, because she would be awesome. I have to do that. I always think about it and then never go do it. Follow through. All right. All right, and if you are missing any of these links, you guys, don't worry about it. Again, we do have a blog that goes up. I try to do it Mondays with the YouTube replay. That is a recap of Free Advice Friday. And on that recap on the blog, it just Free Advice Friday, hot topics, and it's got the date. We do put in all of these links. So if you miss them in the chat, you've got another way to grab them. All right. Yes, so Catherine posted some options for ring lights, and there's a rose tint option and all of that kind of thing. And Zoom also, don't let me fool you, Zoom also has an option where you can like touch up appearance or something like that. And it's not like you can control the filter because it's, you know, it's ranged, but even on high blast, it's not like It's not a Snapchat filter. It's like a kind of blur. It just makes you look a little blurry, honestly. But you can get these. You can get them at Walmart. Actually, I don't want to go crawl under my desk, but I got one. I got one for the kids for Christmas. It was $12. It's a ring light and it's got different color lights like neon green and pink and rainbow. And so obviously you probably don't want to use rainbow for a normal video for business, but you've got the plain and the rose as well. And it was $12 with a stand. It's like yay big, so it puts off a lot of light, and it just plugs into a computer, I think, or a USB port. Lots of options there. All right. All right. I think I got through most of the questions on our things here. You bet, you guys. All right. I had emailed questions that I was going to answer. I said I got a whole Word document with questions, and I'm going to answer some of them. I think it'll probably spark more conversations. But first, Kim had emailed me this week. Actually, Honesty is here on our call today, and Kim had emailed me saying that her book, which was being distributed from Ingram Spark to Amazon, wasn't showing up. It wasn't populating correctly. They weren't able to link things properly. And that is the third email I have gotten in the last 2 weeks about having books that distribute from Ingram Spark to Amazon and them either not showing up directly from Ingram Spark to Amazon. They were only showing up through third-party sellers, not being able to link them, having different types of problems. Third one in like 2 weeks, no joke. So every time I've said, let's go. Number one, if you have the option to upload directly to KDP as well as Ingram Spark, this is a novel or something like that, use both. Same interior files. Your cover is the same, but on a different template, same ISBN. You upload to Ingram Spark for online retail and wholesale, and you go to KDP just for your Amazon sales. Not expanded distribution, just KDP. If you do it this way, you get up on Amazon, you get the wholesale and the online retailers, both best of both worlds, and you get paid more on your Amazon sales. So super smart and highly recommended. And if you can't, let's say you have a hardcover book or special printing, sizing, whatever. If you are not seeing your book show up on Amazon, keep in mind that once you make it live on Ingram Spark, it can take several days to several weeks to populate on Amazon. The metadata has to be sent over, it has to be processed by Amazon, and then it goes up. But if it's been 3 or 4 weeks and you're still not seeing your book, it is time not to contact Amazon, although you can do that. They're going to say, we don't know. What you have to do is you have to go to your printer, the person distributing your book, and that's Ingram Spark. Go back to Ingram Spark, make sure that you sign the agreements for distribution to Amazon and ping them. 2 times we've heard, oh, well, it's going to be 4 weeks. It's already been 4 weeks, but it can take 4 weeks. I think the metadata is getting slowly pushed out. I think they're backed up. So having a little nudge if it's been 3 to 4 weeks, not before that. This is not 3 to 4 days, but 3 to 4 weeks. If you're using Ingram Spark to distribute to Amazon and you're not seeing your book after a couple weeks, ping them and see if they can look into it. It may mean that they need to push that metadata out again. In all cases, we've been told it's being taken care of, but now we wait and we find out. So hopefully that works. All right. Now, this list of questions, I love that they were so thorough. These are from Frank. All right. I'm going to make it smaller so I can put it on my screen, but not take up my whole screen. All right. So questions about series work. I believe publishing at least two books in a series relatively quickly is good, with the third coming soon after. What does that mean? 6 months, which means a lot of writing before publishing. Yes, if you want to rapid release a series, how the heck does that work? You've probably heard that, especially if you're in like the 20 books to 50K group or different things like that. If you're publishing a series and you want to rapid release, typically you are not writing as you're publishing. Typically you have already written 2 to 3 books and they are already in process of editing and formatting, all of those things before you even launch your first book. And with rapid release, it's very common that the first 2 or 3 books are published within about 6 weeks of each other. So you get them out very quickly so you can get your audience reading and on board. You get 3 books out, solid 3, and then you start really hardcore marketing your first book. And that is how rapid release usually works. If you're doing those 3 rapid release and you still have more books in the series, you want a 4th book, you want to publish it in 3 to 6 months after that last book. So initial 2 or 3, and then 3 to 6 months after. You do not want to wait a year for this type of publishing. You're typically writing to market, you're writing on trend, and you want to get them out quickly. Can make you a lot of money. Let me see. I will answer that, Tara. All right. When does publishing too fast become counterproductive, or does it depend on how much promotion you have for each book? So when does it become counterproductive? When you can't keep up, and when you can't keep up well. If you are publishing so many books that the writing starts to slip, you're not getting them edited or proofing. If it's starting to get sloppy, it's time to slow down. There have been several times where I worked with authors who had a really rapid release plan, and I've had to say, all right, nope, you need to take it back, dial it back, give yourself a couple more weeks in between books so that you can do these well. Also keep in mind, even if you have a street team or a review team who is willing to review for you, if you are putting out books one after the other, you're expecting a lot of them. You're asking a lot of time from them in a very short period. So you may need to make sure that you are accounting for that. Are you publishing over holidays or when they're busy? Because if so, they're not going to support you as much. Be careful about how much you ask of your team and how quickly. And again, if you can't keep up with it, if you are killing yourself to meet a deadline, if you are not sleeping because you've got this deadline that you set in your own head, that is why we self-publish, to give yourself the room and the time that you need. So it's really a delicate balance. I don't think there's a set number. I think it depends on you, your book, your series, your writing style. I have heard of people who can crank out a book in a month. A lot of people are not like that. May take a year, may take a lifetime. So it just depends. Let me see. Advertising and promotion. I believe in advertising. Excuse me. I believe in advertising also. Advertising, I just don't have the budget for it. And Amazon and Facebook ads are complex and ever changing, and also time consuming to learn, run, and monitor. Yes, they are. I'm sure most authors are stymied by this conundrum. Is it possible to keep writing and publishing books in a series or not, and hope that a modest amount of advertising and promotion, and by other methods, organic search, etc., that you can be successful? Well, yes. Here's the thing though, is that you really have to get people to see your books. So whether that be because you have a list that you can market to, or you are actively advertising online through paid advertising, or you're pitching yourself for media spots, which typically are free, but they do take time. Or maybe you've got some amazing SEO and you're really working on that. That is, those are options too, but it's going to take time, work, and money. And you can put more money in it and less time and work, you can hire someone to run your ads for you, but you're gonna have to pay them more. Or you can take the time to learn and to work and to really get in there with those ads, and you save more money. But there's one or the other. This is one of those instances where rarely can you have your cake and eat it too. You kind of have to decide what resources you have, how to allocate them, and where you can give and where you can't. Sometimes you say, well, I have no time and I have no money. Okay. In that case, I highly recommend that you either learn or set up some easy advertising that can run basically on its own. A really great Facebook ad, if you get it up and running, you can run it for $1 a day and you can pretty much set and forget it. I mean, I do a lot of them where I do them monthly and then I kind of check in because it pings on my Facebook. So I just check in on them, but they're not a whole ton of work. Advertising on Amazon, sometimes if you really get a good ad going, you can keep it going and just kind of spot check it, but it takes work in the beginning. So it does depend on how much you're willing to put into it. As far as organic search and a book just taking off, I do not believe that bestsellers don't become bestsellers on accident. There's a lot of work that goes into it. That is the whole program that I talked about with Randy's crew last weekend, is that bestsellers take work, they take planning. And I also have a blog coming out next Thursday that is all about bestseller secrets, and one of them is planning, time, strategy. You've got to put something into it. Very rarely does something just magically, organically get picked up. It does happen. There are exceptions for the exceptions, but it's not normal, you guys. It takes planning and it takes work to make your book sell. And so if you put your book up and it just languishes, not only is it not selling, but usually your algorithms are tanked, and then your book ages just like we do, just like we age, so does your book. I was talking to someone recently, and we were talking about books, and they're like, yeah, well, I got this book I really want to push to bookstores. I published it in 2019. And I said, nope, that would not be a good use of your time or money, because may some places pick it up? Yes. If it's targeted, if it's just where he is locally at, will bookstores pick it up? Yes. However, given the content of the book and given how old the book was, 3 years old, and this author does not have like a very well-known name, they're not a New York Times bestseller, bookstores are not very likely to pick that book up. They like books that are published in the next year or the last year. Sometimes if it's evergreen or hard to find content, they will go older. But rule of thumb, they're looking for a book that came out in the last year or two. Typically, the difference is that sometimes if you have a newer book that's selling really well, they will buy older backlist titles. Or again, if it's something specialty or really, really evergreen. Libraries, however, libraries like to keep their collections 10 years old or less. That means that if your book was published in 2012 or before, you have a shot at libraries. Of course, they want new books, but they also keep older titles. And actually, the average library is 15 to 20 years old in their library stacks, not 10. But of course, when they're buying new books, they want to buy on the newer end so they can get rid of some of those older titles. My rule of thumb is, yes, a book from 2012 technically could be bought for libraries. However, my rule of thumb is try to keep within the 3 to 5 year range. If your book is older than 5 years and it's not part of a series with a new book coming out, or if it's not, if it's part of your backlist, fine. But 3 to 5 years for libraries is usually that sweet spot where like you're still good. You can still get eyes on it. Again, there is space for specialty books. If you have a book that is really well researched, that is up to date, and it is the only book, well, maybe not the only book, but it is one of the only books on the market about, actually, Lynn's book is about iodine. It's about iodine and how it affects everything, your thyroid. Lynn's book is still selling. Why? Because it's really good information. It's not everywhere. It's niche, and she has cornered that niche. So libraries still buy her book, even though it's a little bit older. So, I mean, there are definitely places, but you have to think smart, and you have to work at it. You can do a lot of the work if you're willing to find those emails, to pitch those books, to put the letters out. You can do it, but it does take time. So do you have time or do you have money? Maybe you have a little both. Maybe you have a lot of one and not the other. And then you have to decide what you've got and how you're going to use it. And all you can do is use what you've got. Yeah, I mean, we can't magically just make money happen. I have this actually is commonly called a Chinese money plant. And I have a Japanese money tree upstairs. My kids were very disappointed to find out that they did not actually ever grow money. Although I was very tempted to kind of start putting quarters under this one every night to see how far I could take it. But my child is also the one who stood up in the middle of second grade PE class and said Santa wasn't real. She's a real believer, that one. But money doesn't grow on trees. So we can't just make it come up if we don't have it. But we do have resources. We have free things. We have the New Shelves blog, which has information. In the newsletter this week that I sent out for New Shelves had 30 podcasts for writers. You now have a list of 30 podcasts that you could pitch yourself to. We have a community that shares and supports. You have resources. You just have to really narrow them down and decide how and where to use them. Those were all of those questions. If you have more questions, you've got about 8 more minutes and I'm happy to sit and answer them. Tara is asking if I use rooting compound. This is like the most, we're just going to go off the rails. It's like it's books, but it's a little bit just Keri's life in plants. No, I don't use any rooting compound. I use Beautiful Sunlight, but like this one right here, this is a golden Hawaiian pothos, I think. I don't know. I think. This was actually a very tiny cutting when I got it, and you can see it's got some really great roots. This is just, actually needs to be planted. It's got a lot of roots. This is literally just cut it and then cut it with clean scissors, and then I dropped it in water, and I keep it watered just like a plant. And isn't it gorgeous? And this is all new growth. I know you guys do not sign up for a plant class, but plants help clean our air. They make us happy, and we should all have plants. I'm a firm believer. And if you can't keep them alive, then go for a fake. Although then you have to dust it, which is why I don't have any of those. But no, I don't use any rooting. I do actually every year I get compost for my garden. And so sometimes I will root and compost and then bring things inside in the winter. So there you go. Learn something new every day. You don't have to be a gardener. Just chop off something. I did that to I have a little Swiss cheese plant, and I just was like, oh, this is kind of thin. I wonder if I could just cut off a piece and put it in water and it'll grow roots. And I did. Miracle. Roots can take a long time. They can take easily 4 weeks. Once they start to form, though, they usually keep going. If it's really slow, it might need more sun. All right. Caroline is asking. It's our Friday mornings are like part book, part life. All right. I'm doing a major rebrand of Catherine Elliott's new covers, edited and updated revised editions. Should I assign new ISBNs in copyright 2022 or 2023 and plan new books campaign? Let's talk about that. When you relaunch a book, should you like really relaunch it, or should you quietly do it? That depends on a couple of things. Number one, if you relaunch the book, typically you're doing that because it didn't get a lot of attention the first time around. If you're rebranding, total rebrand, then you're typically doing that because it's either really outdated or it didn't get a lot of attention the first time around. If it's really outdated and you're just putting a new cover on, then a relaunch is typically not going to get you much. It's better to just rebrand and then advertise with what you've got. If your book did not get a lot of hype or interest or reviews or reads the first time around, when you rebrand, it's a great time to really relaunch, to put everything together, to work on reviews, to make sure you're getting out on social media or a blog tour, and that you're really pitching it out there for a relaunch. So that depends on the books. And also, if you do that, I would recommend that you really, you kind of do one book at a time. If you go for 5 or 10 books at one time with a relaunch and you're trying to make it a big deal, you're spreading the love over too many titles. Now, what you can also do, even if you're just rebranding, put new covers on there, if you're doing that, you can still make it this big deal and do it all at the same time within your own audience, on your email list, on your social media. You can make it this big deal where you kind of stretched out and do like cover reveals one by one, or when you maybe have 2 covers and let people vote on their favorite. There are different ways to kind of get interest back in those things, and you can use them a lot in your newsletters, your blog, your social media, but that's typically for your current audience, not so much to reach a new audience like it's a new book. So it's just kind of different. But of course, we know when readers talk about books, other readers hear about books, and then they get interested and they buy books. So yes, you definitely want to make sure that your reviews and ratings go over. And I know, Caroline, you in particular have had a really hard time getting some of those reviews to sync up because you are the US publisher and then there's a publisher in the UK. So just putting a new cover on it may actually be the safer bet for you so that you don't have to go through the rigmarole again. Again, one of those things where you're just so special, that's all. All right, you guys, it is 10:57. I think we got through all the questions. Thank you for being with me here. I know it was kind of a rambling Friday, but I really enjoyed you guys and hearing about all of your wins this week. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. We will be back here next Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. If you have questions, email them to me in advance. That way you don't forget them. It's just info@newshelves.com. Oh, and look, I've got a call. Sorry about that. And so email me in advance, info@newshelves.com, and we will be happy to answer them. Or you can join us live at newshelves.com/FAF. As always, so wonderful. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.